Rebecca. It's Eileen.
Hello. If it gets funky, let me know and I'll turn my video off.
I know we only get to see it for a few minutes.
That's okay. I'm not looking so. I no makeup. So.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, David.
I guess if Tom, if you want to hand over the necessary privileges so we can proceed and you don't have to hang out, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, Dave, you're a co-host, so.
Cool. Just making sure. So,
and I believe Jan is on as well.
Good. I just wanted to make sure that, sorry about that, Jan. Things just got delayed a little bit here, but we are all.
No, that's fine. No problem.
Ready to go. I'd like to call, this is David Weig, Chairman of the Morris.
Dave, before you start, hit record. Yeah. Oh, you did? Okay.
It is recording.
Sorry.
And this is Eileen Arbutus, who's taking minutes.
You are, Tony?
I guess Eileen's doing it again.
It doesn't matter to me. I'm just asking.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll start next meeting. I'll start doing them again.
Well, shouldn't Bob Mack be doing it because he's secretary?
No, the secretary is just for the ledger or whatever they say, or the miler,
Do we have a
secretary signs the documents?
Ah, okay.
The chairman and the secretary sign what do you call it? The Mylars for subdivisions and re-subdivisions and like that.
Gotcha. All right.
And since we are recording, this is David Weig, Chairman of the Morris Planning and Zoning Commission. I would like to call to order a regular meeting, normally known as this meeting normally being a workshop meeting, but and we will do some workshop topics on under old business, but we'll hold this pretty much like a regular meeting anyway. And we can add to the agenda as needed too. And we're calling to order at approximately 7:13 p.m. Board members present are David Jeremiah, who's appointed for Rob Whipple, Veronica Florio, Eileen Narbutis, Bob Paradis, and that makes a quorum. I believe we currently have Thomas White, First Selectman, on the line, well as Tony and Billy, our zoning enforcement officer, and Jan, and I forget your last name, sir.
It's
also
sure,
present.
Yeah, it's fine.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is agenda review. Do we have anything we need to add to this agenda? Tony?
I don't think so, no. I think we're good.
We don't need to do anything on Island Trail. We're still waiting for information on that.
Yeah, no, there's no information on it, so.
Okay. We can always add something later if we decide we want to talk about any of the complaints, but let's focus on 3A, 5 Watertown Road. And in the packet that would be downloaded from the website, and maybe you want to bring that up, Tony?
Sure.
Please.
So maybe we'll start with the kind of what he's trying, or just maybe let Jan talk, I guess, and then we'll go to the site plan that he kind of gave me a sketch of.
Sounds good. Well, if we have it ready, if we want to refer to it along the way.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tony. And the floor is yours, Jan.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. So what we tried to do, we put together two pieces: a narrative that kind of explains this unique situation, as well as our actual and proper site plan with the the suggested requirements on that site plan in order to sort of support that narrative. Now, the way we approached this was strictly from a zoning standpoint. In other words, what would we need to do to be in accordance with zoning regulation to do what we actually wanted to do to meet this unique need. There may be other requirements that will tag on to this one from fire or health, but I don't think so at this point. But I will defer to the board to make that determination. And so, with that said, I don't know if you had the chance to read the narrative. I think the narrative is probably the more important piece than the site map itself. But Tony, I don't know if you want me to sort of repeat it and go through it really quick, or how do you want me to approach it from here?
What do you think, Dave? Maybe he can read it to us and then he can kind of go into detail, or?
Well, or it's up. What would the board prefer? You want to just take a few minutes and read this over? Do we feel we know it well enough and want to just hear from Jan? How would you like to proceed?
This is Eileen. I had a chance today to read the narrative, and I feel, in my opinion, just a brief overview by Jan would be sufficient.
Anybody want more detail?
I feel the same way, David.
No problem. Let's go with it, Jan.
Okay, sounds good. So in recognition of the fact that under COVID-19 regulation for the state of Connecticut right now, indoor dining is suspended till further notice. But as you may or may not know, starting on May 20th, they will relax some of the rules around outdoor dining, in particular for restaurants. And so with that in mind, we are trying to figure out how can we meet a few different requirements. How can we first make more dining available to at least get to a critical mass in terms of the viability of opening the restaurant outside, and then once we figured what that number is, how can we actually fit those number of tables or seating outside? Of course, that's only part of the problem. I think that's probably the easier one of the two for me as a restaurant owner and a member of the community. I think the harder one and the longer one for us is the process and the planning we're doing around safety and this social distancing, both for staff and for patrons. So what we suggested was, as you may or may not know, we currently have a 20 by 20 patio, and under that patio, we currently have seating available for 20 people. Now, the way the layout of that patio is and the way we have staff go in and out, we would limit the number of tables to that patio to 4. And in order to make this something viable, we're looking to increase our total outdoor seating to 12, so add another 8 tables. The way we will accomplish that is in 2 different sections, or really 3 in total, 4 under the patio, 4 under an adjacent tent to the patio, and 4 under a second adjacent tent to the patio. In order to fit the second tent, we would look to actually suspend driving from the south entrance on Route 63. We do that for 2 reasons. One, obviously, because there will be a placement of a tent very close to the entrance itself, and it's not safe to have cars being able to go in and out. And the second is if we have patrons walking across to each of the tents, we don't want them to be interfered by cars. So that's the first part. And in order to do that, we would also require to suspend 3 parking spots. And that's really where the zoning regulation comes into play, because by suspending the 3 parking spots, we're reducing the total number of parking spots available to our patrons, excuse me, from 18 to 15. And by going down to 15, because we have a liquor license, outdoor dining, whether or not you serve liquor or not is a different story, but outdoor dining requires 1 parking spot for every 2 patrons. And currently, we're not able to support that if we are reducing it from 18 to 15. will basically be 3 parking spots short to current zoning regulations. And so the gist of it is basically reducing, by reducing those 3 parking spots, we're looking for a variance to the current zoning regulation in Morris.
That's something that would have to go to the zoning board of appeals for a variance.
Well, it's a temporary variance, right? Because it's under the COVID-19 emergency regulation. So I'm deferring to the board to figure out. We were not looking for a permanent variance.
I believe other towns went to boards. Yeah.
What's that?
I believe, was other towns went to planning and zoning. They never went to a board of appeals. They all went to planning and zoning departments.
Correct.
Yes, but I mean, this is something that if we're looking to do that, I think we would need to get a legal opinion from Steve Byrne on the matter before we do that. I don't feel comfortable just doing it and saying, yes, it's okay, without knowing that we have legal standing to do so.
I don't have a problem. What would you be looking for the legal opinion to opine upon?
To define a process, if we can't just do this by a simple site plan approval,
well,
then
New Haven,
I mean,
I think, yeah, other towns have already done that, right? They've already done the exact same thing you're doing now.
Yeah,
I don't know what's in their. I don't know the regulations, and I can't judge the regulations.
There are no regulations because it's basically it's an emergency thing. There is nothing out there for it. That's why they're telling everybody to go to planning and zoning. You know, I believe Jan did a lot of research into this, and that's why he's came to our department. And
currently
no regulation
there are 30. Yeah, currently there are about 34 at the last time I checked. 34 townships around the state, including some of the biggest. I mean, an example we had in Hartford, they're shutting down streets to allow restaurants who doesn't have private parking like we do to actually use the sidewalks for their tables. For restaurants where there is private parking, and there's a number of those as well in New Haven, in Fairfield, in Simsbury, in Bristol, they're actually allowing people to do what I just explained, and that's why I put it in that type of wording, where you look at the current regulation and you look at what variance is needed. And in our case, the only variance, because we do have a private parking lot, is a reduction from 18 to 15 spots. And by doing that, we are basically requesting a 20% reduction in the variance to required parking spots. That's the only thing that I see. And I may be missing something. I'm obviously more than happy to address anything I may have overlooked. But technically, that is the only thing that we're looking to do here. And of course, as discussed in the last meeting. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I'm willing to receive an application. I don't feel comfortable with our approving it tonight, but I'm not saying that we won't consider the application and see if there are things we can do to make it work. Basically, approximately how many seats do you expect to have outside?
In total?
Is that documented on your plan here? Or in your write-up?
So our current seating outside, if you ignore the unique situation we're under, is 16. We're reducing our current seating in the current space from 16 to 4, and because of the proximity rule and the social distancing. And what we're saying is, in order for us as a restaurant to be able to open at all, we can't just have 4 seats. So we determined that we need a total of 12. So we're actually reducing our total seating from 16 to 12, but we're spacing it out so that we can be in compliance, not just from a rule standpoint, but also from a personal comfort level standpoint. We're spacing out those 12 seats across 3 different areas. And in order to accommodate those 3 areas, one of those 3 areas would require us to put it in a parking spot space.
This is Eileen. Thank you, Jan, for that wonderful overview. My question is oh, I'm not sure why it's breaking up. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. My
Hang
question
on,
is,
I'm gonna stop my video.
It's Veronica.
thanks, Ronnie. My question is regards to the driveway. I see in the plan that you had proposed that you would stop having traffic coming in on 63 and traffic would only be coming in on 109.
That's correct, Eileen, and that's more of a safety issue than a requirement from a space standpoint. We could still do this by leaving both the 109 and the 63 entrances open, but I felt that perhaps with traffic there, it may be may not be as safe as closing it down.
Mm-hmm.
This is Dave Jeremiah. When we built the property, my father and I, that was just an accessory because we wanted an access on there. It's not mandatory. So all we had to have is an in and out location, which is on 109. So we made that as an extra in. So it's not something neat. It's not a mandatory.
Thanks, David.
Sure.
Dave, Bob,
Yes.
what,
Yes, sir.
so exactly how many seats or how many tables do you expect to get?
We're looking to
I'm a little
put 12
confused.
tables outside.
Oh, 12
And how
tables,
many seats per
And that-
table?
4 per table?
Correct.
12 tables. So you're going to be placing 4 of these tables under the existing outdoor dining area, and then 4 and 4 more underneath these new tents.
Correct. We would remove 12 existing tables and just leave 4 on the existing area. Right
Okay.
now, currently, we have 16 tables outside, but that's, like I said, it's not viable, unfortunately.
Right.
If it was, we wouldn't have a problem at all. So we
Now-
would remove 8 tables from the outside and place, like you said, place 4 under one tent and the 4 on another tent, and for
Okay.
a total of 12 tables.
Okay. Now, by temporary, at some given date in the future, when everything blows over, hopefully, everything returns to existing, tents go away, the road is opened again,
Absolutely.
and you utilize the pre-existing outdoor dining area.
That's correct. In order to find an anchor point for the board, what I suggested, and if this is not a good solution, I'm happy to do whatever you guys prefer. But at the temporary permit, if you wish, or the temporary variance would coincide. The end date of the temporary variance would coincide with the date at which point indoor dining would be allowed again.
Yeah, okay. David Wig,
Yes, sir.
do you really think we need to go to Byrne with this?
I'd rather dot the i's and cross the t's on this.
I mean,
Yeah,
this looks pretty simple. To me, it's temporary. It's an emergency kind of thing. This restaurant is depending on whether it's going to stay alive on this particular plan.
Well, I guess
I don't see
I
any-
would rather, go on, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay, go ahead.
I would rather get all the information we need on this, contact Steve Byrne, and then schedule a special meeting just to
Deal
vote
with
on this. I mean, we should be able to get an answer on this week. Could we at least get together on Wednesday or Thursday? And I promise it would be just for this and this alone. I'd
Sure.
rather dot the i's and cross the t's than go prove this and to find out we should have gone about it a different way. I'd rather get our legal opinion, not base it on,
Someone else's
something that I'm
research.
not.
Well, that's fine, David. So I'm okay with that. so long as, these guys get a yay or nay before the end of
Yes.
May. Because they've got to be, this
I
stuff's got to
would,
be in place by June if they're going to survive, I'm sure.
This is Dave Jeremiah.
well, I thought D-Day is, my understanding is D-Day is May 20th.
Right.
That's
Okay,
correct.
you got to get all the tents and organize this a lot. This is
Yes.
Dave Jeremiah. I had a quick question.
So
I'm looking at-
I don't want to drag this out, because what if Steve Burns says, no, they should go to the Zoning Board of Appeals?
Well, we're going off, it's posted online.
Because this is a hardship. This is a hardship situation.
Sure.
And
Well-
that's what the Zoning Board of Appeals is there for.
Can you also look at this as an event? Basically, what if you're going to put 2 tents up? Looks like an event, in a sense, for a certain amount of period of time.
That's a question for Steve Byrne.
Yeah. This is Veronica. I agree. We need his opinion. As
I
quickly as
don't like to,
possible.
I wanted to hear this. I wanted to know what the application was, because I didn't want to go, I can't go calling Steve Byrne out of the blue and say, oh, Steve, I think I'm going to get this. It might be this. It might be that. We got to talk to him and say, this is what it is. How do we go about doing this?
Are we?
You know, it's
Dave,
an
I would
existing
say,
business that we want to survive and want to keep going.
Dave, how about I contact Steve and we maybe schedule a special meeting for 1 week from today, so that, just in case he gives us everything we kind of need, Monday Jan can come back on and we settle it before Wednesday, next Wednesday.
Can we have a quorum?
Or
Monday.
if we can on Wednesday.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, Wednesday or next Monday, one of the two, depending upon when we can get the answers back.
Okay.
I'm all for that.
That's fair
I
enough.
just want to dot the i's and cross the t's, because if it's zoning board of appeals, that should be doing this. Because now that I hear what we're talking about, that technically is a board of appeals decision, not a zoning board decision. At least how the structure is in this town.
Would it be helpful if we share the actual guidance that was given to the other 37 towns in the state
That
of
would be
Connecticut
useful
and
too.
state them? Okay.
Yes.
I think Attorney Burns should see that. Very important.
I think he's aware of it, but I mean, I would appreciate having it so the board members here can all read it and understand it too, because I think it'll make us better decision makers on this too.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying. And I will, while we go through the meeting, because we have a couple other things on here, I do have a communication from Steve regarding this, not directly from Steve Byrne, I don't think, though. Tony, were you copied on that message that was accidentally sent to the first selectman of Litchfield rather than the first selectman of Morris back some month?
I think I got something. I think so, yes.
I just don't remember what was on that.
I think
Maybe
it was
the-
more like that was more like a executive order from the governor, and Steve was kind of explaining what it means for hearings and stuff.
For meetings.
Yeah.
For a meeting, yes.
This is Eileen Arbutus. Just for clarification of the notes, the action item is that Tony will contact Steve Byrne to set up an appointment either for Wednesday or next Monday to go over this with Han.
Well, basically, why don't somebody make the motion to this effect? Ask Tony to contact Steve Byrne and get an answer as soon as possible to the question as to what's the best way to go about that. We have an managing the application of 5 Watertown Road. If somebody could make that motion.
I'll make that motion.
May I get a second on that, please?
I'll second it. This is Veronica.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And just to sum up, the additional detail on it would be, we want to understand whether this is, since it's not something that would conform to the zoning regulations, whether this should go to the Zoning Board of Appeals directly, not go to Morris Planning and Zoning, because I don't want to go through the process of rejecting this and having them to go to the Board of Appeals. And if so, how do we structure our approval? You know, get some legal advice on how we structure the approval so we do it correctly. And I think, you know, and also add the question: does the executive order, current executive order, give us leeway to actually give a temporary approval to something that wouldn't conform to our planning and zoning regulations? Because my point to this is, I agree this is a hardship, and a hardship deserves a remedy, and that's what the Zoning Board of Appeals is for. And you could also contact Tony and also contact the Zoning Board of Appeals chairman and talk to them and see what their thoughts are on the matter.
Yeah, let me talk to Steve first, and then I'll after Steve says his little or the advice he gives us, then we can try the ZBA after, sure.
Okay, cool. Because I would say just give him a call.
If he says we don't need to do ZBA, then, you know, why would we do that, you know?
Then we'll just do it.
Exactly.
I mean, I like the application. So, one thing, can you scroll down? We don't have any parking calculations on this, do we? Tony?
There's some numbers.
Yeah, Anita and Dave Roberts said we can use the parking adjacent. Dave Roberts put a sidewalk in for it too. I'm online right now. Hartford City Planning Zoning Commission has considered and made changes to zoning regulations allowing restaurants and increase outdoor seating. So I'm online right now.
Make changes. Yeah, that's make changes to zoning regulations.
Yep, they did temporary planning and zoning. Restaurants will have to present their plans to the Commission of Planning and Zoning. Yep. That's Hartford. So it's online. Yep.
Yeah, New Haven, Stanford, Fairfield. There's a number of them. Not that
they're all saying, everyone's saying planning and zoning commissions. Yeah.
The only thing is like, if they're talking about it that way, though, like, are they changing the regulations? Because the changing regulations is a temporary. No, I'm just saying, as a terms of process, a change in regulation is like you need to have hearings variance. And this and that. I'm just saying.
Just temporary variance. That's all they're doing. It's like putting a tent up for 3 months.
But their structure could be different. They may not. They may have a different appeals process in those towns, such that the planning and zoning can handle it. I don't know what their.
I'm looking at like a long time event for 3 months. That's what it looks like. Just putting up tents for like an event. That's what it looks like.
I understand.
Do you have to go for planning and zoning for tents? I mean, I was curious, or is that just getting a permit?
You would have to, as far as I'm concerned, tents should require some level of zoning and planning and zoning approval, because if it's a permanent thing, because
that's why they're doing that. Yeah.
That's a structure that has fixture to the ground.
Yeah, they're putting barrel. Yeah, that's why they're probably saying tents, outside tents. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, the only reason there's a tent is because of the possibility of rain. We also considered picnic tables, and like I said, at the end of the day, I think many of the townships are not trying to change the zoning regulation. They're invoking what they call, and I quote there, COVID-19 emergency temporary relief. That's the actual wording in many of the townships that I read. And I'm happy to share some of that either with Tony.
Yes, I would like you. I would ask if you would share that with us, please.
But I think overall, I understand. I think the board are serving the exact purpose that you're trying to do here, and I can appreciate that. My only ask will be that given the timelines that we're working on, that a decision, whether it's a yay or a nay, can be done pretty expeditiously, because otherwise, I don't want to invest time and money in trying to get my processes, my staff organized if this is something that's not going to be doable on the very limited scale that we're looking for.
But I do want to, excuse me, so let's see. So the other thing you added in there is that you said, I always get his name mixed up, but your landlord is, no, your neighbor is willing to share parking temporarily.
So we've been talking to our three neighbors, and as you know, one is the landlord of the liquor store to our north, and then to the west we have Ben Paletsky and his property that's currently being run by Brian, and to the south we have Dave Roberts and his property. I spoke to them a couple of days ago, and they were going to think about the ability to actually use 5 or 6 spaces for parking for our patrons, but I haven't got an answer from anyone as of yet.
Okay.
Now,
Because
mind
if
you,
you get answers to that, I would like to see those too, please.
absolutely.
To have
Now,
on the record.
mind you that given that indoor dining is closed, from a pure slot standpoint, we do not need any more parking. The only thing that comes in between the parking spots availability and the need is the regulation that if and this is not a Morris board zoning. This is not a Morris zoning statute. This is more of a state statute as it pertains to serving liquor outside. In that, if you do serve liquor outside, there's a 2-to-1 ratio, and that's the only. At the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. It boils down to an 18% variance to that regulation. That's really the only thing here, because we have all the other approvals and all the other regulatory licenses that we need. It all comes down to the fact that we are 3 parking spots short. Now, you could argue, like you said, I'm not sure who said it earlier, but you could also argue that if you put a tent up, even though this tent will not be fixed to the ground, it's a temporary structure, that in of itself may require some zoning regulation, but or some zoning consideration, I should say.
I'm just concerned about the parking aspect of it. I have no issue. I mean, the tents are the least of my concerns. But that's why I'm like, well, look, where are the calculations on the parking on the Tony again?
So the calculations are not included on my application, but I'm happy to add those since I'm very obviously very well versed in what we need to have. So Tony, if you want me to add a paragraph on the parking calculation, but the parking calculation is sufficient. Keep in mind that the outdoor seating is I'm sorry, the indoor seating is suspended. The indoor seating is taking up 6 of those spots.
Yeah, I don't count the indoor seating in all of this. I'm just counting outdoor seating. I agree.
Okay, if we're just counting outdoor seating, we have no parking problem.
So you say you have enough space with the outdoor seating alone?
If we assume that we have 0 indoor seating required, then we have plenty of parking spots to support 12 tables.
I agree.
And what?
What's the basis? Could you do the math for me, please? Because it's not documented here, but I think I know. I want to make. So you're going to have.
I'm happy to put a paragraph together even tonight and send it out to everybody so you have it in writing.
It's on record.
So basically, 1 space for 2 dining patrons. So if you've got 12 tables, isn't that 36 patrons and you have 26 spots for 26 people, so you're 10 short?
Yeah, so sorry, let me clarify. Our tables on the current patio outside are designed for 2 people per table. So that's what we have right now. If you look at the approval.
Well, that's a different story. I look, if you can actually, yes, do you want to write something up, and do you have, if you could email it to, do you have access to the Morris Planning and Zoning email from where you are, Tony?
No.
If you could email it to WII at optonline.net. I think we all have probably seen that address somewhere, that optonline.net, optonline.net. And just tell me when you've sent it, and I can send it to everybody else. And make sure a copy of it goes to Morris Planning and Zoning, the email. We could then conceivably consider this tonight. If you document that, because it doesn't say on here that you would have 2 people per table. At least I don't see that on here.
Yes, it's right there, the second line down, available for each 2 outdoor dining patrons.
Yeah, that's the requirement.
Yeah, that's the requirement. I didn't realize that the main issue that you're concerned at the board is the number of patrons to outdoor parking spots in total. I assumed that I was required to keep my indoor parking spots available. As it stands currently, and maybe this is an easier way for us to look at it. As it stands currently, if we can assume that all the parking spots reserved for indoor dining can be suspended for the time period until indoor dining is allowed, with the 18 parking spots, we basically can accommodate 36 people outside, and that is more than we're going to be able to do at any given time anyway. The way we're looking at this from a safety and process standpoint, even though we may have, and maybe it was incorrect of me to say four tables, 4 people at each table. That's not what we anticipate. So if it pleases the board that we can actually accommodate 36 people, maybe that's a better angle to go at this, if that makes sense.
Well, if you can say that you're going to have, you're expecting to have patronage of 24 people, therefore you have, or 26 people, because that's what 13 spots will give you, then that's something we can technically approve. I don't think anybody, just between, we're on tape, so I don't think anybody's going to go down there and police it unless there's something that gets out of hand, and then you would have an issue at that point. But as long as you can keep things under control, and we're talking, we have something on paper that says that you're going to have no more than 26 patrons, then you can have 13 open spots, and I feel I would be comfortable on it, and as long as everybody else is. I'm not going to speak for anybody else. I just was not going to approve outdoor dining. And one of the conditions of the approval would be that during this period, no indoor dining is allowed. Once indoor dining is reinstated, that the tents come down and it goes back to the original approved configuration. That's agreeable to me.
Okay, I mean, that's obviously, and yeah, that sounds like a very good solution. And also,
and actually, I am willing, if the board's willing to make a motion to that effect, I would let that stand. Not that I ever block a motion. If somebody made a motion here to prove it without stuff, I would, be very upset, but I wouldn't stop it. I'm not one who says, don't do it. But I just want to make sure we got our ducks in a row. I'm not trying to hold you up. I just want to do this right.
No, I can appreciate that. Thank you.
This is Veronica. David, what was the original, when we added the outdoor dining there? How many tables were they supposed to have under the one? Does anybody remember?
That I don't remember
tables.
myself.
8 tables? Okay.
Correct.
But that shouldn't matter really, right?
No, I was just thinking of something in my mind. So as long as this is only temporary and under the COVID, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think like if someone makes a motion due to, COVID,
No.
yeah.
We're going to we need to word the motion and put conditions.
Temporary.
Well, that's part of it too, yes.
Yeah.
All right, I guess I can make a motion. This is Veronica Florio. I'd like to make a motion to approve to temporarily, I guess is the right wording, suspend the current regulation on outdoor dining until the COVID-19 is over, and this site plan looks fine to me temporarily.
And there are a couple of conditions we should probably add, Veronica.
Okay.
One is that no indoor dining is allowed during this period.
Okay, and to amend to add no indoor dining during this period.
And if once indoor dining is opened up again, the tents come down or a new plan will be reviewed under the seating guidelines at that point in time.
Can we just say, once the COVID-19 is over, we go back to the original regulation?
This is Eileen, I would say no, because there's no guarantee that COVID-19 will ever be gone. Like flu, I would say once the restrictions on indoor
lifted.
dining have been lifted.
There you go. That's
Yeah.
a good way to put it.
All right,
Perfect.
I would, yes, amend it to
Thank you,
say,
Eileen.
once the restrictions on indoor dining are lifted.
And the second thing is that we're approving 12 tables of 2 patrons each.
Okay, and amend to
I think that's what you said.
approve
4 times 2, yes.
12 tables with 2 patrons apiece.
Yes.
So
And that would
this is
total-
Eileen Arbues for a total of 24 patrons at one time outside.
Well, say for a total of up to 26. Yes.
In case somebody brings the third.
Okay. This is Eileen Arbues. I second the motion.
Any discussion?
Nope.
I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. And just one comment, Jan, I'm just a little sensitive about outdoor dining because we do have an issue over on Route 209 with another establishment that has had cars all over the road and people driving. I actually witnessed some of this, you know, and making odd turnarounds because they couldn't find parking when they went to the establishment. And I just get very concerned about a lack of parking. And that's why I want to make sure that we are consistently applying the regulations here.
Yeah, so I think you have all the right to have those concerns. I can only speak for my restaurant. And there was a comment made earlier, and I don't want to drag this out too long, but in terms of policing, this is not just about pushing tables out there. There's a lot of work going on in the background to see if this is actually going to work going forward. And the biggest police is going to be me, myself, to make sure that we don't have any situation that you may have seen in some other establishment, number one. And number two, the limited number of people you will see, or you may see, we're hoping, once we can get going here, you're going to see very strict process and procedures in place to not only abide by this motion that was just passed, obviously, but also on the safety and security of our patrons, the staff, and everybody else. And that includes steps we have to take to be safe from the virus, but also steps we have to take to be safe from vehicles or parking or people driving, etc. Just like we did when we had the patio license passed. So you will find that I will spearhead that effort myself, and I do not anticipate anything coming out of my restaurant my establishment as a cause of concern. But I get your point, and it's well taken.
It's not any question on you. It's like, it doesn't matter whether you are, you know, it doesn't matter who you are coming before us. It should be the same, you know, expectations and the same flexibility. That's very important to me. And no, I trust you. I don't question what you're saying there to the least. I just know that sometimes, you know, and I hope you have the problem of having to figure out how to deal with business, because I'd rather see you do well than not do well.
Thank you. I
Absolutely.
appreciate that.
Amen.
Yeah, and I didn't want to get ahead of myself, obviously, because I wanted you guys to have a chance to talk about it. But the reality is that this is the difference between survival and non-survival. And I'm not trying to be dramatic, but that's a fact.
I get that.
Oh, you're not being dramatic.
Yeah, I mean, either way, it's going to be tough for each business because you can, you know, you got to have 6 feet social distancing and this and that. So it's going to be tough either way. So we have to do everything we can to help them, you know?
Absolutely.
This is
And,
Eileen. I hate to cause issues, but for as far as minutes are concerned, the action item of Tony contacting the Zoning Board of Appeals and contacting Steve Byrne are no longer on the table. Is that correct?
Let's have him go ahead and
I'm
have
going to
him make
still talk to Steve.
Okay.
No
I just
matter
want to
what.
ensure that the meeting minutes are correct.
Yeah, they're fine.
the meeting minutes. Oh, you would still keep that in there. If anything else, we would make a motion to rescind the previous motion,
Okay.
if that were the case.
Perfect. Thank you,
But leave
gentlemen.
it there. And actually, could you add two words to the approval, if it's okay with the motion maker and the second maker and the rest of the board? Site plan approval.
Sure. This is Veronica.
Agreed. Eileen Nerbutis.
Yeah, because that's technically what we're doing. We're approving a site plan.
Got it.
Because that's what, I mean, I think maybe if you really want to get bits and bytes about it, it's for outdoor dining. Does that require a special exception?
Well, it's a temporary.
Tony?
Really.
I mean, the thing is,
no, we approved it. It's not going to go away.
I think,
But
you know,
I'm
it was
just asking that
interesting. I was
question.
reading something, Steve Byrne, about the 221, that as soon as you offer up a special exception for outdoor dining, it becomes a permitted use. So I don't know, the process has to go after that from, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, so I feel like now
let's
it's
also ask about that just to know for the future.
Sounds good.
I mean, it's not that I don't want to approve this. I do want to approve this. I do want these things to happen and go on.
Yep.
I just want to make sure we do it right and we don't cut up our nose and spite our face by the decisions that we make.
No, I know. We don't need anyone else, you know, because, you know, there's some people in the world that get upset or whatever, and then they sue you and this and that. And I understand.
Correct.
Thank you, John, for joining us.
Yes, I'm assuming this is not going to be our first request, guys, that others are.
I don't know. The other places already have outdoor dining, so I don't know. I don't really.
Yes, but they did as well, but they may need to increase it like they did.
Well, all the others have are pre-existing. The only ones I can think of are pre-existing non-conforming uses. Poppy's always has outdoor. That the West Shore Seafood is totally outdoor, almost 90% outdoor, 80% outdoor, and
exactly. So
Giovanni's
isn't at all.
And you guys have to realize too, with the way the rules are, it'll be hard. You can't have 80 people in the restaurant, you know, with the way the rules are.
Right.
So it's not like West Shore. They have plenty of space. They wouldn't come in here and be like, oh, they couldn't really add anymore anyway. You know what I'm saying? Or even Poppy's, where could they really add?
Well, this is Veronica. Like, you know, what if Don Giovanni's wanted to set up a couple tables in their parking lot and then ask the flower people to let them park some cars over there because they wanted to have some outdoor dining? I mean, we might come up against that situation.
I basically know them so well that I know that's already what goes on there. That's
It is what goes on there.
non-conforming.
The parking situation, but not
Right,
the
I'm-
outdoor
I'm
dining.
just saying
They're
they might want to set
pre-existing
up some tables
non-conformity.
outside.
Well, you got to think it's
Just
actually
like,
works out for Bella Luna, works out for the liquor store, it works out for them.
But we're a small community and we have to look out for each other. So
All right.
Let's
Thank you,
move
John.
on to. Yes, thank you, Jan.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you,
much
Jan.
appreciated. Have
Bye,
a nice evening.
thanks.
Good luck.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Tony. Thanks.
Okay.
This is Eileen. I
Eileen,
just
are
wanted
you
to
up?
add that Mr. Knox joined the meeting at 7:15.
I saw that. Hello,
I thought
Joe.
Katie Neck too,
And
but she
Katie-
came in and
She
Katie
got
was there.
kicked out. She sent me a message. She got thrown out of the meeting. She's not sure why. I asked her if she was going to rejoin, and she didn't respond to me.
She
I tried
joined
to
again,
accept
and
her.
I added her in.
I've been,
Katie,
And I
are
trying,
you
did
there?
at one point too.
I've been trying to promote her more. I keep calling her.
Thank you,
No,
David.
she like about 5-6 minutes ago. She
I'm
asked,
friends
and
with her
I
husband.
approved.
He said, "We're on. Where are you?" Yeah, that's what I usually do.
Maybe it's a computer issue.
So,
But,
Tell her to
hey,
try
no,
it again now that I took my video
We
off.
need people.
so this is Eileen. I just wanted to make sure that it is noted on the minutes that Dell joined
Thank
the
you.
meeting at 7:15. Thank you, Mr. Knox, for joining us. How are you today,
Yeah.
sir?
I am good and good. Thank you. Was I that late?
Sorry,
You
Del.
were 2
I-
minutes later than everybody else. You're
Oh.
good.
Sorry,
that's right,
Del.
'cause
I
I-
keep muting you because you're making some extra noises, so I just muted you a couple times. Sorry.
Oh, me?
Yep.
Yeah, that's okay. It wasn't me. But I checked. I'm like, am I muted?
No, you're good now. Before, for some reason, I was getting some, so I muted you and it was better. But now you're fine. Looks like maybe
There's no 3-year-olds in here.
no. Hey, Dave, I'm gonna go eat,
Yes, I understand. It's that time
and
of
if
night.
you guys want to do stuff without me, feel free. Have fun. I'll be back in like 15 minutes.
Yes, and we'll just head over to the to Eileen's and take a look at her postcard.
Well, I don't have any updates from the meeting on
Oh, okay.
Wednesday, unfortunately.
Okay.
I did send, this is Eileen Arbutus, by the way. I did send the pictures that I received from Dave Wigg and a couple from others to the graphic designer, my sister. I'm waiting for the new mock-up. However, the pictures that I received were very nice. I will admit they're beautiful. So I am waiting for the new layout, and depending upon when if we're going to have a special meeting or not, I should be able to have that mock-up out to you guys sooner than that. I'm just not sure when our next meeting is, if we're going to do one or not.
Are people willing to do another meeting to go over those pictures
Sure,
next week?
sure.
What day is best for everybody?
I'm available whenever.
Same.
Usually.
Bob?
Wednesday works best for me.
Understood.
Wednesday is fine with me.
So we're thinking of,
Dell and Dave, is next Wednesday good for you?
so Wednesday
sounds
the
good.
20th.
Yes.
All right, so
Would
there is,
somebody-
so Wednesday,
Somebody make a
May
motion.
20th, we are
Please.
considering having a special meeting to go over the planning and development committee postcard at 7 p.m. That's my motion.
Do I have a second?
I will
Second
second
to that?
that. It's Veronica. It's Veronica. I'll
All those
second
in
it.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hey, I couldn't open those pictures, David. Eileen, were you able to open them? Can you send them to me? And because I couldn't unzip the zip file.
There's a lot of them. It was a zip file. And I will tell you, Dave, they were beautiful, some of them.
They're not mine.
I was-
The people who did the natural resources inventory had a photo contest. And so these are the townspeople's
Oh.
pictures.
Oh, okay, because some of them were absolutely gorgeous.
I know, that's why I felt that it would be a waste to not consider some of them for what you're putting in. I mean, I thought yours were excellent too, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but
you
mine
don't
were
need to-
iPhone done while driving around in a car. These are like 35 millimeter captured.
Oh, yeah, it was a professional job. They actually had a contest. I forget what they gave away when they did that.
Oh, I just hope they're not copyrighted.
I don't think so, because they went to the town. I mean,
This is
public
Eileen. I
domain.
also did get a copy from Planning and Zoning email today of the Morris seal that I did send to the graphic designer, my sister, for the postcard. And
Okay.
should I send out the mock-up prior to the meeting if available, or only to Tony and to David Wigg?
You can send it to the group. I have no issue with informational emails are fine. It's just, I don't want conversations to develop after the fact.
Okay.
That is fine.
Okay.
All right.
I just don't want to, I want to stay clear of FOI if we can.
Understood. And based upon our last meeting, the only other information that I have that we didn't discuss was the pricing on the printing of the postcards.
Yes.
I know I had brought up my screenshot of it prior to this. Let me pull it
You
up.
want to bring it up again?
Yeah, hold on one
Please.
second while I find it. Now my computer's being ridiculous now that, I'm trying to do something.
Yeah, computers will be
Of course, it's
computers.
always the way it is.
That's just how it goes, right?
Where it's going,
They're
nobody knows.
wonderful, but awful at the same time.
I'm fortunate. This is my business laptop for work, and I'm allowed to use it for things like this, so I really can't complain.
I don't have the same deal.
I still will complain, but I probably shouldn't. All right. If you want to give me permission to share my screen, Dave. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, host disabled participant screen sharing. I don't know if you need to make me a co-host. That might be what the problem is. We don't necessarily have to share the screen. I can just tell you what it is. So, I got 4 different quotes from online vendors, all EDDM eligible, which means that they are available for the post office to put in every eligible post office and post office mailbox and mailbox that is available. The best price that I came across was mycreativeshop.com. I based it all on 6.5 by 9 postcards, and this one was 1,500 postcards for $201.48 plus shipping. It was $70 cheaper than the closest one that I could find. And by having 1,500 postcards, we are able to leave postcards around town, perhaps for people to pick up at other places, maybe at the post office or Dollar General, put it up on their board, or put it up at Poppy's or other locations within town.
And which one is the one, the 1,500 again?
That would be mycreativeshop.com.
Oh.
The second closest and priced was UZ Marketing, which Kevin Curley had suggested to me. And I would have to break that out between a set of 1,000 and then a set of 250 for a total of $289.65 plus shipping. The next one would be psprint.com, and that would be 1,000 and then 200, because I have to break it out by that, for $345.32. And last would be uprinting.com, and that would be $373.38 for 1,200 postcards. The one thing that I liked about mycreativeshop.com was that it did have very interactive tools, and it allowed me the ability to manipulate the postcard to make it exactly what we wanted it to be. And it had the best price.
This is Veronica. I think having 1,500, might as well have some spares. Like you said, leave them all over town.
The only question that I had was, like reviews and such, but if people, it's up to the board. I'm not going to.
So this is Eileen. I did take the time to review each business to make sure that they were reputable, and that they did have good reviews prior to me even looking to determine if I would want to do business with them.
Then you guys know how it's done.
Make a motion.
Yeah.
So what's your motion, Mr. David Jeremiah Jr.?
What was the first one you said? Creative Scott? What was it called?
mycreativeshop.com.
That was the best one overall, reviews and money wise, right?
Reviews, price wise, and 1,500 postcards.
I go with that one. I'll make
Make
a
the motion.
Second.
So Mr. Knox made the motion to go with mycreativeshop.com, and Mr. David Jeremiah Jr. seconded the motion.
Yeah, sorry, Dave. I didn't mean to swoop in. I was telling you to make it, but
Yeah, you totally
Make
jumped in there, Del. And you
no, I was telling you to make
Motion,
it.
Steve.
Before
Any
David looks up
discussion?
the reviews. Don't look it up, David.
I'll go for right.
Any discussion?
The only discussion I have, this is Eileen, is that I will discuss with the graphic designer, my sister, in making sure that we have the proper format that they require to make the postcards, and I will make sure that I get a proof prior to being printed and send it out to the board to ensure that they are that they approve it.
Sounds good.
My only question is how would this be paid for?
They would send us an invoice, and we would have. Well, technically, they would have to send us an invoice. Do they? Or how does it have to be paid?
Credit card.
Most of them are credit cards over online.
Up front, I would assume, correct?
That I don't have a quick answer to.
Can Tom put it on town credit card and charge it to planning and zoning?
As I say, I don't have. I mean, I don't know that. And Tom, I don't think is really listening. I think he's still on there.
I did try to contact the company that Beach and Rec uses down in Thomaston, but they are closed and only open for emergency reasons, in quotes, for printing. So I didn't feel that this was an emergency to try and ask for a request for a print copy.
Agreed. Well, I'm going to call the question, and we'll deal with that.
I just
Because we're
texted
not
Tom.
about to submit it today anyway, so.
Mhm.
All
Well,
those in
it's
favor?
emergency, how long out?
What's that?
How long out if it
David?
was not emergency? To get the postcards.
They're not taking requests, she said.
Right, they're because of what's going on, they're only taking emergency requests for printing purposes for municipalities. And in my opinion, this doesn't substantiate an emergency.
All right.
But that's up to the board to decide if they don't agree with me.
Well, that could be months out then, right? Or 2 months?
It could be, because based upon the current climate of what's going on right now, I can completely understand why they're not taking
All right.
things.
And they could be more expensive too.
Exactly.
Were all the companies doing that?
No, that was the only one. The other ones, if I had come across any that weren't taking any orders, I went right past them.
So the creative one, you said it wouldn't be for couple. Is that right? The creative one?
It would be 5 to 7 business days.
All right.
So it'd be
I
rather
guess
quick.
Okay. But they need a credit card up front.
Exactly.
I just texted Tom to see if there is one available. So response back or not.
Thanks, Mr. Jeremiah.
Well, I think the instructions we will ask Yatone to talk with Tom to find out what our options, whether one of us should use a credit card, maybe the chairman or somebody use a credit card and then get reimbursed with an expense check.
Could do that.
So, I mean, I would think that would be the way it would have to be done.
Mhm.
Any other questions, comments?
The only other discussion would be is also the payment for the post office, to have them do the EDDM to put all of the postcards in every mailbox and PO box. That would also need to be prepaid online.
I will also, through the vendor or?
No,
'Cause
right through USPS.com.
Post
Right
office.
to the
Yeah,
people that I spoke to at the post office, you can either pay for it in person or pay for it online, but it has to be prepaid prior to the postcards being
Delivered.
dispersed.
Yeah. I would think that's something, I'm less concerned about that because I would think that's something that the town must have some kind of an account for, because the town sends out mailers.
They have a credit card, they said.
Mhm.
Tom's got a credit card, he says we can use.
All right.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, Mr.
David.
Jeremiah.
And I think something similar would go for the United States Post Office, because I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
because we might even get better rates than they would, sort of thing, because we're a municipality.
Right. So the action item will be for Eileen to get the final proof with the pictures that were submitted by the board. And I will have that to everyone so that we can have our special meeting on May 20th. Is that accurate?
Sounds good.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's our objectives anyway, because I'd like to get this done and over and get this sent out. So
I want this done as
move
ASAP.
forward. Yeah.
People are home, they'll read their mail more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially with all the beautiful pictures of Morris, who's not going to want to look
Yeah.
at it?
I almost
Exactly.
sold out my fences the other day.
Thank you.
I'll call the question. All those in favor of my connection or whatever it is, or $201 and change? Whichever your opinion on what we're voting on.
Dell had made the motion to accept mycreativeshop.com, and Mr. David Jeremiah Jr. had seconded the motion for mycreativeshop.com.
And that's the
All
one
those in
5 to
favor?
7 days, right?
Aye.
Abstentions? I mean, against? Abstentions? Motion carried.
Yay.
Yay.
Send those postcards out.
Hey, we get excited when we get something accomplished.
No shit. I mean, no kidding.
Pause
Yes, thank you, Eileen. Thank you, Veronica.
I
You
didn't do
both got
anything,
something accomplished, like you
really.
said, Veronica.
huh?
I said you both got something accomplished. Thank you, Eileen and Veronica, and you were
It was
correct, Veronica.
Mostly Miss
So,
Eileen.
Great job, guys.
Eileen. Okay, and then let's go through these minutes. Have everybody? Let's since we're going to have a meeting on the 20th, if we want to go over the plan stuff, I think we'll wait for the 20th at this point, because we won't have as much on the agenda then as we did today. But let's get through these minutes, and if Tony wants us to go back to the town plan, we can do that if he's got something he wants to make sure we go over. So we have the February 5th meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to approve. This is Veronica.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And David Jeremiah, Eileen Arbutus, and Katie Knack will all abstain because they weren't at the meeting.
Correct.
I don't know whether Dell and Bob weren't. I think I might have been at the 5th. I'm not 100% sure. This is Dave Wig again, Chairman.
Back.
Yes, Tony.
Okay. What you missed is we agreed to, on my connection, that $201 thing. Tom White has a credit card if we need for that, and I'm sure we need to check and see for the mailing part of it whether we have a pre-existing agreement with the post office that would cover things. And I keep seeing Katie Knack trying to come in, and I think we need to maybe work with her offline, Tony, at some point and find out why she's having issues connecting.
Sure.
She said that she was having issues getting back in because of her Wi-Fi, and she's trying to get back in now.
Okay.
So I'm not the only one with Wi-Fi issues.
No, it's not just you, honey.
Little town of Morris.
And so we also approved the February 5th minutes. And we've skipped over anything on the town plan write-up we have so far. Because I figured, unless you want to go into that, I figured we'd skip over that for now. We also you were there for the meeting on the 20th, scheduling that, right, Tony?
Sorry, what was that?
We got a meeting on the 20th now at 7 o'clock.
Oh, we're gonna do one May 20th?
Yes, a
Yeah.
special meeting to go over the postcard.
Okay, did you guys approve the survey or no, not yet?
We haven't gone that far.
Okay.
No. Oh, we need to do that?
Yeah, why
Let's
don't
just
we
get
do
through
that
the
too
minutes and
tonight?
get back.
Motion approved.
Yeah, that's why I was saying we'll wait for you to come back to go back to that as needed. So
Yeah,
the minutes shouldn't be too long. How about the February 5th public hearing meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve. This is Veronica.
This is Bob P. I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Again,
Abstain.
Like the Mustang.
yes, on everything except for the last couple meetings, Dave and Eileen must abstain and Katie too, because they weren't at those meetings. The April 29th meeting, they can all vote on.
Right.
April 15th special meeting minutes.
God bless you.
Bless
Thanks.
you.
Many
Do I have a
blessings.
motion to approve those?
I'll make a motion to approve. This is Veronica.
This is Bob
Do
P.
I have a second?
Second it.
Thank you, Bob.
We're a team.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions?
Eileen abstained. David Jeremiah David Jeremiah Jr. is abstain, and Katie Nax abstain.
Yes. And April 15th, public hearing minutes. Do I have a motion, please? Of course, if there's something wrong you found on there, please bring it up, but if not, we're good.
You mean the minutes, special meeting minutes? We already did the public ones.
Oh, okay. I thought I had the other way around.
Or maybe I had it wrong.
Yeah, I think you have it wrong,
Yeah.
Veronica.
Oh, okay.
Public hearing. Do I have a motion to approve the public
Make
hearing?
a motion to approve. Bob Paradis.
Thank you, Bob.
I'll make a motion a second. Veronica Florio.
Thank you, Veronica.
Bob.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The only thing we have to make sure on these, if there are any of these meetings that you missed, Del, so that we don't, you have you abstaining or approving accordingly.
Right, I think it was just the.
Don't worry, when Eileen sends them to me, I'll review them and I'll just make
Right.
sure whoever.
Yeah, just edit where necessary. Thank you. Thanks, Tony.
Thank
I think
you,
it was
guys.
just after
I
the
just wanted to
20th.
make that point.
I think I missed that one.
The 22nd?
Yeah,
Yep.
I was away.
We were saying April 15th, not April 22nd.
Right, so we're okay on April 15th.
So I was good on this one.
Del should be on that one, but not on the next one.
Right.
And on the April 22nd, do I have a motion to approve that?
No, wait, I have a question.
Oh, good. Go ahead, please.
It's Veronica. On the special meeting minutes of April 22nd, if you go down to 4C, the complaints, it says Tony Adeli and Robert McIntosh both updated the commission about their recent meeting with the lawyer for West Shore Seafood. The lawyer brought in an updated site plan for the parking issues. Some members as well as other citizens of Morris. That last part didn't make sense to me. The lawyer brought an updated site plan for the parking issues. Some, I don't know what, some members as well as other citizens of Morris had to do with it. I think that might have been a typo that got left in there or something. Anybody else?
Then I would say let's strike it from the minutes and make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
All right, I'll make a motion to strike from 4C on the special meeting minutes from April 22nd, where it says some members as well as other citizens of Morris, and approve the minutes.
Do I have a second to that?
Second.
Dave, I'm not 100% sure if I was there or not. On the.
Okay, yeah, you did this one too.
Should,
Then we'll put you down,
It
because I know
says
you're at the last meeting.
it should say,
Oh.
it does say who was at the
Don't
meeting.
say you were there, Bob.
I was there,
Okay,
and I will second that.
thank you, sir. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Eileen
Del abstained.
Arbutus.
Is that when we put you guys on?
I was there for April 22nd on.
Correct, me
Okay.
too.
And Dell
Yeah,
was
so
not.
that's what I thought. Just checking. So you guys can count as, you could vote yay or nay or abstain. Did I say if anybody opposed?
No.
And if there are any abstentions? We may not have any abstentions on that one. Oh, except Dell.
Dell, yes.
And then April 29th, motion carried anyway. April 29th.
This
I have
is
a motion
Eileen.
to-
I make a motion to approve the minutes as read.
Do I have a second?
No second.
Thank you, David. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Was that the meeting you missed, Bob?
Believe so.
Yeah, that last week, or the 29th, yep.
Okay, so Bob abstained on that one. Cool. Yeah, we got that done. So Tony's got the questionnaire.
This is Eileen. Can we take a 5-minute bio break?
Let's come back at 8:35 to 8:40. I won't start earlier than 8:35, and if you take the 8:40, we'll wait for you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Anybody, and that goes for everybody who
Okay.
wants to take a quick break.
Thank you so much.
And welcome back, Katie. I'm sorry you had issues connecting tonight. And if you got kicked out, nobody meant to do that.
No, thank you. Actually, it wasn't on your end. I don't know what happened. I was just standing there in my kitchen. I couldn't hear Veronica anymore. And I thought, oh, that's weird. Maybe something happened. And then from the other room, I heard my husband say, how come this isn't reconnecting? And I thought, oh, well, that's why.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's like right before I sign into the Zoom thing, my signal shows I'm strong. And then the minute we all get together, my Wi-Fi signal goes medium. And I'm like, how does that happen?
Huh.
I appreciate your presence. I don't mean to be harsh in my emails. I just get frustrated when we don't have my text messages. I just frustrated when we don't have a quorum and we have all this stuff to do and things just drag on.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying a different approach to say, hey, we assume we're all meeting, and if you can't make it, just tell us you can't make it. I go with the assumption we're going to have a meeting, not that we're not going to have a meeting.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think that it was a good idea. I don't remember who had made the suggestion last week or during our last call, I should say, about, if you don't reply, then we're going to just assume that you're going. So we're kind of, going and kind of flip-flopped it. So I appreciate that, which I think is a little bit easier. But, on a personal note, like I totally recognize that my attendance has been, spotty. But I also emailed Bob McIntosh a while ago, letting him know that I was dealing with a couple of personal things. And I said, I'm around. I said, I'm not going anywhere. I said, but I'm trying to deal with some things right now. So, I will be back as soon as I can. And then I never heard back from him. So, but that was a while ago, not just 2 weeks ago.
I understand that you can't make every meeting. I don't expect anybody to make every meeting, but it's just, if you continually have something else scheduled on the same night, maybe you gotta pick one or the other, but not both. And I know that's not you, Katie. But there was an instance where that was the case, and I just, and now with Zoom, I really hope we find a way to keep that going, because that way, if I travel for work, it's a lot easier for me to attend, because I can attend these meetings and even chair them conceivably.
Oh yeah, I think it's a lot easier. Yeah, I think it's a lot easier for most people to attend a Zoom meeting.
It is. It's a lot easier.
And then Eileen, I know she travels a lot, and Bob will occasionally be on the road, Bob Paradis. And if Bob McIntosh can still participate, it'd be nice to be able to have him Zoom in if he can't make it here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fantastic.
At least that's my feeling on the matter. And
I
no, that's fine. I appreciate your opinion.
But this is the wave of the future, is to be able to be in it from wherever you are.
And the nice thing about Zoom is we get an video recording as well as an audio recording.
And I think that's
Great
really
video,
good.
yeah. Okay.
And actually, I did step away from the computer, but I actually had my phone with me, because it's one of the nice things about using your phone is you have to get up. I was looking to chase down the zoning regulations, but I forgot I had them in my, didn't feel like digging around the computer, and I don't know why I didn't just look on my computer in the first place to figure out what the options were for Beyond and 5 Watertown Avenue.
I don't know about anybody else, but this cold weather's getting really old.
Well, it was nice to have some snow.
Well,
My
I
kids
would
trampoline thing,
you
they're
if
all
we were
excited.
in a room together, but we're not. You're lucky. I need warm. I need to get out in the garden, damn it.
The kids were just in
Well,
the
it's
pool.
good thing you didn't do too much in the garden yet, probably.
Well, I'm trying
Not been
to,
a good year.
yeah, trying to get my lettuce in, but it's just been too wet to till or.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was actually until the weekend. It had been pretty dry for the latter part of last week. And at first it was supposed to be dry all week, but now I think it looks like it's going to be in and out all week.
The next 3 days shouldn't be too bad.
Okay.
Hi, this is Eileen. I'm back.
All right, Eileen. Are we?
Woo!
I guess Dell stepped away too. Oh no, he's there. Never mind.
Is
So I
he?
guess we will pick back up. Tony, you want to take the lead here because you've got it up on the screen? Because we're going back and going through the survey.
This is Eileen. What exactly did we need to review on the survey? I thought had completed that.
I thought we were.
I don't think we approved it yet. I think we had a couple changes.
This is Veronica. I noticed we didn't add a comment section at the end. I had asked to add a thoughts box, kind of additional thoughts, maybe.
Okay, Tony seems to have been
I'm back.
hilarious. Cool.
Tony, can you go to the bottom of that?
Yeah, the last question, or
Yeah, she wants
Yeah,
to
that's what we're
talking about the comment
asking about.
section.
Yeah, after the last question, I had asked if you guys wanted to add a comment box for additional comments that they just might want to write in.
They do have. Looks like they have comment boxes almost on every question.
yeah,
I
there's.
Yeah.
Add a general comments if anybody wanted to.
I don't
write.
think we should, because then how do you compute it when they do the survey? It's like those other ones. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to compute.
Well, you don't. You just have to bring them out and read them. Do it the old-fashioned way.
I agree.
We're all about, speed these days,
No, some of you are, some of us are not.
This is Eileen. My opinion is we should have a comments box for anyone who wants to add any additional comments.
So
But that's just
23
my
additional
opinion.
comments.
Well, do we need to go over the rest of the document at this point, or are we all in agreement that the rest of the document's okay? Is the comment section the only question at this point in time?
Everything was good. I think we did that quite a few times.
Yeah, I think we should move on from this, I think.
So
do
somebody
23.
needs to make a motion, and either it says to make a motion and approve it as it is, or make a motion to approve it with additional comments, with the additional comments question, or if there is an alternative idea that I didn't think of, please make a motion accordingly.
This is Eileen Arbutus. I make the motion that we should have a question number 23 that is a free form comments box for the Planning and Zoning Committee to review at future meetings for any ideas or comments that were not previously recognized within the survey.
I second that. This is Veronica.
How do you want
Although,
sorry.
does that include a motion for the whole approving the rest of it?
Yes, in addition to question number 23, I make the motion that we should approve the rest of the survey as it has been previously presented to P&Z.
And this is Veronica. I'll second that.
So, I mean, basically, is that two motions or that's one motion?
It's one
If
motion.
It's one big, long,
She-
convoluted
Basically,
motion.
she motions to approve the survey as is with the addition of question 23, general comments.
Cool.
Yeah, that's what it should be. That's how it should be phrased. I know I'm not,
Okay, no problem. That's a valid motion. Do I have any discussion?
No.
I'll call the question then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. I know we've been very bad this meeting about it, and this is Dave Weger, chairman. I've been very bad about it too, is adding our names. And for the most part, I think we sound pretty distinct, though I sometimes confuse Dave and Yatone.
Your tone.
Go with deeper voice.
Oh, Tony, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I've known Tony since he was a kid.
Your tone.
My son grew up playing video games with him and his brothers
Oh boy.
and his cousins.
Well, Tony, you were just thrown under the bus.
No, me.
No. His uncle used to say they were killing giants.
Dave,
Yeah.
Dave, Bob,
Yeah.
are we almost over? It's done?
Do we have anything else to talk about on the conservation and development, Tony? Is that good enough for tonight?
No, if you guys don't want to, it's fine. Because I know, Dave, you completed maybe you completed some of your stuff. You added some new stuff, but we can do that next week. That's fine. No big deal.
That was my thought, unless somebody wants to go over it particularly.
I think everyone's ready to roll.
I would
So
like.
the next meeting is Wednesday the 20th, just to confirm?
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. Bob P.
Abstain.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you,
Later.
guys.
All right, peeps. We'll see you on Wednesday. Have a good one. Stay safe out there.
We'll
Bye,
see you a week
everyone.
from Wednesday.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, I'm coming.